I don't know if they want us to present from over here or...
Yeah, I don't know. Last time I think we did it from down here.
I think so too.
Yeah, that's what I recall anyway. Cool.
Take any opening comments? Start out. Okay, do you have a preference about if we present from up here versus at the table?
Here's a clicker if you want. It would be there if you
Yeah. Okay, I've taken control of the clicker.
All right.
Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 5:03 p.m. according 6:03? Whatever that, I'm reading that clock, I promise. 6:03 p.m. on April the 6th. Thank you. The Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comment on items relevant to the Planning and Zoning Commission not already scheduled on tonight's agenda. In accordance with the Texas Attorney General's opinion, any public comment that is made on an item that is not on the public agenda will only be heard by the Commission. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comment will be made by the Commission. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his or her name and address for the public record. Is there anyone present wishing to address the Commission? All right. On to discuss only item 3A, number 20260347, discussion regarding the Unified Development Code amendments, discuss and obtain direction on several policy choices that influence how the UDC implements the comprehensive plan. These topics reflect areas where multiple approaches are possible, and where the consultant and city staff have worked together to identify a preferred direction for consideration. Take it away.
All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you for having us this evening. My name is Erica Craycraft, and I'm the Assistant Project Manager from Freese & Nichols, and I am joined tonight by Chance Sparks, who is the Project Manager, and Evan Oshesky, who is one of our project planners working on this effort. So my presentation tonight will be pretty short. I'll start out with an overview of the project status. We'll look at the results from our first public engagement for this effort. We'll have some discussion on some focused topics. And then any time left over at the end, we'll have time left for Q&A or any other discussion items. We have a 3-phase process, and we are currently in phase 2. We met back in the fall with you all as the advisory committee for our first of 3 meetings. Now we're in phase 2, which is actually drafting the UDC. This is the longest part of the process. And we'll be wrapping up phase 2 here toward the end of the summer. And once we move into phase 3, that will be the public review and refinement of the complete draft. Then for a more detailed look at that same schedule, so overall we have a 12-month schedule, and we plan to wrap up in September of this year. The first arrow, those are the advisory committee meetings. You can see this is the second of 3, again, that we've had. We'll meet with you all again here in another couple of months. And then the second arrow is showing where we are in the drafting process. So we've completed the first draft of our 4 modules, which are what we call, we've divided your current code up into basically 4 quarters of sections. We've been working through those 1 quarter at a time. So we've now completed the 4th quarter, and we're moving into the complete draft stage. Moving on to the public engagement. So we conducted the first of 2 online public engagements in this effort earlier this year. We had an online survey that was available for about a month, and it was a 2-part survey. The first was for the community as a whole. So we reached out and asked for preferences. This was generally related to housing and neighborhood types, primarily residential development, but there were other development types as well. And the second part of this effort was the development professionals survey, where the city reached out to local developers and builders to get feedback about what is the demand, other than just what does the community want to see, what is their demand for here in Pflugerville. You'll also have in your packet it's called an engagement summary, but this is the full results from that virtual public engagement number 1. If you want to go through and see everything that folks had to say. You have that here in your packet to take a closer look. But to summarize some of the key points here, the first part, we're looking at the broad community survey, which is open to all the residents. There was support for single-family development, cottage court formats, large lot homes, but also support for alternative housing types like townhouses, duplexes, even higher intensity residential. But those were most appropriate around retail and transit-oriented development areas. Then in terms of development standards, the public talked about landscaping, open space, sidewalks, pedestrian amenities, and parking placement as other elements that are important to them. Switching over to the development professionals' takeaways, there was support for different types of single-family development, especially the smaller lot, multifamily, cottage courts as well. Then for the retail and mixed use, both at the neighborhood scale and regional scale. And there were some comments that flexibility in development is limited, particularly related to the dimensional standards required by the current code and also parking requirements. So that was helpful to have called out. Next, moving on to the main part of our discussion today, these are the 3 discussion topics that would be in the other document that you should have received, a short memo that's about 5 pages. Then we have 3 topics that are listed out here. They're all focused on housing. And I'd like to run through all 3 of them, if that's all right with you, and we'll come back through, and then we'd like to hear from you all about your thoughts and your answers to the questions that we had in here. So starting with the first one, topic 1 is related to some of the residential districts. And this one's a 2-part question. What you see here on the screen is from the diagnostic assessment report. So that was an effort that was done before we started here, where another consultant looked at the city's code and made some recommendations. And from that recommendation, they recommended elimination of the single-family estate, or the SFE district. That requires lots that are at least 1/2 acre. And the reason that was recommended was because that's not currently zoned anywhere. It exists as an established district in the UDC, but it's nowhere on the zoning map. So it was recommended just as a simplification measure primarily. And then the second part of this recommendation relates to the 2F, or the duplex district. So that district currently is the only district that allows duplex development, and it also requires a 10-acre minimum for anywhere that district is applied. So what the diagnostic report recommended was, instead of having only this one district that allows duplexes, to allow duplex development in other existing districts, particularly single-family districts. So do that type of development in more locations. Since in that case duplexes would be allowed in other locations, there would no longer be a need for the 2F dedicated district, so that could be eliminated. The report also recommended, as an alternative to that approach, eliminating the 2-family district, you could keep the 2-family district and broaden it to allow more residential types in that district. So our question that we have for you related to these 2 topics, the first part about the SFE, estate district, is whether that's something that we want to keep as a tool, if that's still helpful. We can keep it included in the code as a tool in the toolbox in case you would like to use it. There is public support for those larger lots, but also we wanted to consider, is there demand, is there economic support? Are you likely to see more of these larger lots? And also the idea that you can always build a larger lot if you want to. We're establishing minimum lot sizes. So say you're in the SFS district and you want to plat larger lots, you can still do that. So considering the utility of keeping SFE, and then the second part of the question related to the 2F district, our current approach right now is to maintain the 2F district that you have, not allow duplexes in the single-family districts, with the idea that there are established neighborhoods. Would there be public support for introducing duplexes into developed single-family neighborhoods, or is it important to keep those in designated separate 2F neighborhoods? And then we've also created a neighborhood flex residential district in addition that would allow that variety. So instead of the approach of merging some of these districts and allowing duplexes in more locations, we've proposed keeping the single-family districts intact as well as keeping the 2F district, but adding the additional NFR district that allows for more of the residential variety. The second question is related to the SFR district, which is intended to be a master planned community. It's intended to support a variety of single-family lot sizes. So single-family housing does allow detached and attached single-family, but the idea is that it would have different lot sizes. So your current code requires, the lot size varies based on how large the development is, but it's either 7,500 square feet or 6,200 square feet for the entire subdivision, except for 10% of the lots have to be larger than 9,000 square feet. So what we've proposed is tweaking this a bit. So instead of having the 90%, 10% split that you have right now, we've established what we've called standard lots, large lots, and small lots. So this mix would require more diversity in lot sizes rather than being able to have 90% of your lots are all the same size. This would allow up to half of your lots to be standard, a quarter to be small lots, and a quarter or more could be the large lots. One of the trade-offs that we proposed in here was that smaller lots would be allowed, but that they would have to be alley loaded. So they would have a garage and a driveway from the back rather than across the front yard. The question that we have for you here is, does the city support this approach of requiring the lot diversity within this type of development, and also about having the smaller lots that use the alley loaded configuration? And then the third topic is related to detached condos and build-to-rent communities. So one of the changes that we have proposed here is, first of all, giving a name to this use. Right now, the current code addresses this largely through the multifamily standards, which is a little bit confusing for some folks. And then also, when you hear multifamily development, you don't necessarily picture the single-family detached homes that come in a built-to-rent community. So our recommendation was to establish a use name for these. We've called them single-unit detached residential, but that would encompass both detached condos and build-to-rent. And our current draft that we're working on, we would refer to another district. In this case, it would be the SFS standards, which would be a 9,000 square foot minimum. Basically, the build-to-rent or detached condo development would have to follow the standards that would apply to a typical SFS subdivision. We wouldn't be regulating the ownership structure, for example. We're trying to move away from the condo terminology and focus more on the development rather than the ownership. And this would help with having a consistent development pattern consistent with what you would see in other parts of Pflugerville. As part of this set of standards, we've recommended what you see here is item 5C, the alley loaded development option. So if an applicant decided to do alley loaded development, they could get a 20% reduction in the lot size and the setbacks as kind of an incentive to encourage the alley loaded configuration. So our question here is, does the committee agree with defining the build-to-rent detached condos in this way, and by using the SFS standards for this type of development, as well as allowing that optional alley loaded incentive for the 20% reduction for lot size and setbacks? And just to wrap up the presentation, and we'll go back for discussion for our next steps. We'll be continuing to work with city staff. We've been meeting with them every week or two to touch base and review drafts. So we're going to continue that process as we move into the complete draft refinement. We'll come back to you. We stay on here fall, but it's really summer when we'll meet with you all, the advisory committee again. We'll have another public engagement survey outreach point, and then several joint workshops and an open house. So that is what is ahead for us, but for tonight's discussion, I wanted to go back to the first of these topics and hopefully hear from you all what your thoughts are here. So I'll go to the question part of this. So our question for topic 1, the first is about if we want to retain the single-family estate district as an extra tool to have in our toolbox, even though it may or may not get used, but we would have it there as an option. And then the second part is whether we want to keep the two-family district as its own standalone dedicated district versus allowing duplexes in the single-family districts. Anything to add there?
I guess at this point, let's get the conversation rolling here for some feedback so we can make some key decisions this evening and work through this draft as we march forward. So throw the keys to y'all.
Thank you. So on the single-family estate district, from my recollection, and actually I think Robert was present for years prior to me, so I know this has come up over the years. From my recollection, it was kept it was used as an incentive to build a premium product in Pflugerville, meaning larger lot, larger home, but that would mandate that the entire development is single-family estate, right? Am I thinking about that correctly? So if somebody wants to come in, they build in an SFE zone, then whatever they build has to be to that standard.
Yes.
So I'd look to the rest of the members here whether or not we think that that's realistic in the near term, in the long term, because I think the minimum is still 10 acres, right? For any residential development?
I
Like
believe
10.1
so. I am looking
or
right
greater
now.
than 10?
Oh, I thought it was 10 acres for a duplex.
I think it's 10 acres to build a residential anything.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Is that correct? I believe that's
It
what
looks
I
like the smallest an SFE district can be is a half acre, so you could do a single lot.
I might have to excuse myself in a moment.
Oh, but you're talking about like to build a whole community, they need 10,000 acres, period. And no matter what they do,
10 acres,
just 10.
not 10,000.
Not 10,000. Sorry, 10 acres. Sorry. That's so huge.
That's the 10 acres is for a SF.
That's a SFR.
SFR. It's a different district.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess, I'd leave it up to you all. What you think about a state as a zoning district?
I think short and long term it would be fine. I don't think removing it is I think leaving it is, in my opinion.
I'd have to look at the map. Do we have a map of where any SFEs are designated right now?
Those aren't
That's
just
part
on
of
the
the
map.
problem. There is none. And the discussion previously was not even about bringing more SFEs in. It's not like anybody was really looking to use that, except for there was a conversation for folks that were zoned agriculture and had been grandfathered in to use it as a way to prevent future people from dividing up their land
That's what I
into
recall.
smaller lots, which honestly is not really a great public policy goal. That it was just to keep their property intact. So generally, to your point, I can't envision a time in which Pflugerville would want to encourage large estate size development. And if there was anybody who was interested in doing that, they're probably going to do that out past the ETJ where they can do whatever they want anyway.
Well, and to that point, right? So if we take a map and we go, okay, this particular area is going to be SFE, then that would limit that because we would be the ones that set that map.
Right.
And we
Right.
have, I'm sorry, just one clarification. We do have one area that's SFE. It's right here at K Lane. That older neighborhood, when it was annexed, they were recently zoned SFE. But they have acreage lots. But
Like 2 acre or bigger, right?
then also keep in mind, they also have the ability, I think 2 of those lots now have looked at replatting so that they can also then reduce their lot size. So,
Right. And so I think from a intent standpoint, if we haven't used the SFE, well, if we have minimally used, I mean, fewer than 5 properties, fewer than 10. Out of all of the parcels, it doesn't make a lot of sense, in my opinion, it doesn't make a lot of sense to maintain it and then be responsible for designating that so that somebody would come in and do that. You know, if somebody buys 100 acres and they want to build half-acre or 1-acre lots under SFR, that's their prerogative. Right, and even some of the developments and the newer stuff, you know, the way that they do the roads, you end up with pie-shaped lots that are 0.4 acres or some oddball, you know, not grid style.
Correct. There are some, not here in Pflugerville, but there are some in Leander Cedar Park where in the subdivision they have 1-acre lots. So if it was SFR, they could still do 1-acre lots. They just couldn't re-subdivide that lot, correct? Without a rezoning, which hardly anybody would do, but when you're in a subdivision like that.
Okay.
Just, I know there's like 3 or 4 subdivisions like that, where people are looking for a large lot but want to be in a community.
Sure. But so do you think that
Yep.
we need to maintain it as a zoning?
No, I
district?
mean, we don't, but I mean, if somebody has a single-family estate lot, then, yeah, I mean, I guess we don't need it. We should probably keep it, though, in case there is something down the line that needs to come up.
Well, I mean, I guess the question, what we would keep it as a tool for incentivizing a certain type of development.
Right.
So we keep it on the map, and we take our map, and as the P&Z, we say, okay, this area is SFE, this area is SFE, this area is SFE.
Do we need to do that? Like, do we need to actually map out areas? Or, okay,
Would be on the land use map, but no, you don't have to go through and change.
okay.
So then somebody could theoretically then, on their own accord, buy the piece of property designated SFE themselves.
Right.
And that would become our only major SFE designation.
That's what I'm thinking.
And that turns into the real distinction then is, do we maintain it in the code such that it's already laid out all the specifications for what SFE is? In which case, should a future person come to the zoning board, the conversation will really be, well, why shouldn't we zone? We've already said this is a perfectly acceptable zoning district. They're wanting to comply with it. We'd have to have a reason that it's inappropriate for that land to zone it that way.
Correct.
As opposed to if we don't keep it in the code, it turns in more probably to a PUD situation where somebody's going to be coming and saying, well, look, I really want to do these large acre lots and I don't want to conform to SFR. I want to do something slightly different. And then they would have to show the zoning board at the time why that's a good idea.
I mean, and it could also handle subdivision in CC&Rs, right? That's where they could handle that. So
Right.
just,
Exactly.
It's part of your covenants restrictions. You can't subdivide your lot. So
Right.
that then the onus goes
Correct.
to the developer and whoever the future owners are.
Right. Which is what most of the subdivisions do. You can't change your lot, which is in the CCRs. Yes,
Right.
correct.
So I guess back to you guys. Is there any benefit? I mean, you recommend eliminating SFE as a district. We have a couple. We have a very, very small amount of properties that are already designated SFE. So do those get rezoned to SFR, or do they just stay SFE until they get sold off? And
Our understanding is you don't have SFE on your map at all.
Yeah, I think there's one that could have been with an annexation that may have just been zoned SFE. I want to go back and double check.
Okay.
If anything, it's this street just south of us by the HT.
Yeah, so your typical process then is you take anything that already is zoned that and you do a conversion table where you say, okay, if it was zoned this way, that district's going away, it is merging into this resulting district. So in this case, it would probably merge into the SFR district. And generally speaking, when we look at stuff like this, where it's a district you've had on the books for quite a while and it has not been used, it becomes a pretty good question about the efficacy of actually having it. And the point, brought up about, if somebody really wants to do this, it can be a PUD route, but also it's not super likely you may see that, ever here. There's kind of some market reality that happens here with land value and things like that makes the math on that a little challenging. So That's part of what drives our interest in, let's go ahead and remove this. You've got a relief vehicle available with a PUD to deal with it if it does come up, but it simplifies your code. Maybe avoid setting a artificial expectation, either for the public or for property owners, that it's an automatic sort of thing if somebody wants to do it.
Okay. So do we need to vote on whether or not we want to keep it or eliminate it?
I don't think we need an official vote, but if you have general consensus, that would be helpful.
Aggressive head nodding or something like that also works.
All right. So anybody have any strong opinions about keeping it?
I mean, didn't we have the community come up and say they didn't want some of their neighbors to subdivide the property? Wasn't it like 2 months ago?
And look,
Right,
I
wasn't it?
mean, I think the challenge that we face is accommodating the request of the landowner as opposed to accommodating the requests of the adjacent landowner. Right? If a landowner comes to you and says, "Hey, I want to subdivide my property," that's really a consideration for how we understand that landowner's request, as opposed and this is a real example. Like this is something we
Yeah.
actually faced is
Yeah, it was like 2 months ago. I swear it was.
one landowner
Yeah.
owned enough to do a subdivision, and then the other landowners around them had larger acreage and didn't feel that it was appropriate. But ultimately, even after that consideration, the landowner that making the request, we could only really have a justifiable explanation or approval or denial based on what the request was and whether it was conforming.
Right.
Start down there at the far end, we'll just work back this way. Any other comments or anything?
No,
All right, starting down there. Keep
Yeah.
or eliminate.
Eliminate.
All right,
I'm okay with eliminating it.
All right.
Discussion.
Eliminate.
all right.
I'm on the fence, but yeah, I guess eliminate it. But
Okay, eliminate it. Thank you very much. I feel the same. All right, on to the next. Do I? Oh, I'm so sorry.
There's a bonus
I apologize.
number too.
members of the committee, go ahead.
You guys jump in.
Eliminate.
Okay.
I'll abstain.
Okay. Thank you. Unofficial vote for direction. Thank you very much. All right, next is maintaining a 2F district as and introducing the NFR district. There we go. Did I read that right?
Yes.
All right, great. So then let's talk about that. I'll start the next one over. Go ahead. Any thoughts?
Well, I'm in support of maintaining the family.
The 2F district?
Yeah.
Okay.
The way I think about this is, if not to go out of order, but I'm going to go out of order. I like the topic number 3 about the build to rent, and really the idea of let's identify that as a area, and building an area to rent is not really, it's a kind of affordable housing, but it's not really affordable housing because it's not what people are buying. It's trust funds and hedge funds buying properties and renting them. And so I like that you're setting some high standards, and you're not discouraging it, but you're saying, look, if you're going to build a community that's built to rent, you need to meet some standards. I see this as the opposite of that, saying we want to encourage other types of housing to get houses into people's hands. And so I like the idea of permitting duplexes anywhere. But I also like the idea of keeping a more flexible zoning district that you can then incentivize, that you can find, and I would say, whether it's the 2F or the NFR or both, where you can cut out as much requirements as possible to make it an incentive for folks to build things that people can buy. And what I don't know that the city attorneys would have to say if you can do, but I would then want to restrict it to buy only. Like, you can't rent this. We're giving you an incentivized district to build stuff for people to buy homes. And if you do that, people can't rent there. You got to buy.
Well, see, and that as a note, just to add some context, right? That's another conversation that's been happening for years here. Is that we're trying to incentivize, well, homeownership, right? Because of the economic impact that it brings to the community, but also to the individual, and kind of accelerates that process. And so the idea is creating some sort of incentive structure that allows for a first-time home buyer or young family or missing middle and all that stuff, the correct languages. So anyway, go ahead.
No, so that was my biggest concern relative to eliminating that is building duplexes for rentals within this neighborhood is where I get a bit of anxiety. If there's a way to carve that out, which I'm not sure you can, but to carve that out, control that, then I'm not open to it. But
Just, I did have that conversation with legal. We can't carve that out. We
okay,
can't.
well then,
And I don't think the
How
city
are
would be
some-
incentivizing residential.
How are cities
Okay.
able to eliminate short-term rentals if you can't stop rentals?
I think a lot of that actually changed at the state law level as well.
Yeah, you've had some state law changes in the short-term rental space, but short-term rentals exist in kind of like this weird in-between world. They're not rental housing, but they're also not lodging. They're kind of in this weird in-between. So the way that cities can regulate it has elements of both that show up in it. So it's a little bit different animal, but generally speaking, like the second you go beyond a 30-day lease, you are clearly into rental types of spaces, and that's where it gets a little bit fuzzier. What I would say is with the neighborhood flex residential and even keeping two-family, it's about creating an environment that is maybe more likely to result in opportunities for ownership, where it's at least more of a possibility compared to maybe some of the other districts where it is less likely. Can't necessarily control who's going to be your buyer, but you've created the environment where that buyer can be, random family X looking to purchase a home sort of thing.
Can I ask a question? I just want to make sure I'm understanding kind of like what the discussion options are. So is the question or the two different options, like allowing duplexes in all single family districts, and if we do not want to allow duplexes in all single family districts, then the recommendation would be, well, we would maintain the 2F that would not allow duplexes, but you would create a new one that then would allow duplexes within it.
Correct. You kind of got
Okay.
a few paths. You've got the path of enable duplex in all of your other districts. At that point, your 2F district becomes effectively obsolete,
Okay.
and it would go away in that circumstance. Option 2 is you keep that 2F district and you create this neighborhood flex residential district.
So, in that, is this kind of like options? I'm just curious, is it more of a reflection of the survey results, or is this also a reflection of like the city's vision of Pflugerville?
I would say it's also a reflection of the city's vision and the comprehensive plan to allow an additional housing variety, different housing types in more areas.
I think it'd be more of like the two different, like not the concern of adding duplexes universally. Is that more of like a city related? Like the reason why we're looking at two options, I'm assuming in my mind, I think that I'm just having a preconception here, that it was responses from the survey of folks not maybe wanting duplexes to be allowed universally, or is that also in alignment with the comprehensive plan?
If I can, I think there was also some conversation on the staff level that if we were to allow duplexes everywhere, that there could be some definite feelings. I don't know if we got too much on the survey about it, but I know that there was definitely some questions on, let's use Falcon Point, for example. If something were to happen, could your neighbor then rebuild a duplex next to your home? What would be the mechanism? Because we would not be able to say no if we did that. So then we were like, well, do we want to then have a district that would open it up so that we'd be able to really realize the goals of the Aspire plan? And allows for some of the flexibility while still maintaining the.
So would this, and I'm sorry, I'm asking a lot of questions instead of just giving my thoughts. Is there a because what I'm wondering is, I mean, an existing neighborhood is most likely not going to rezone to this NFR.
Right.
So then this is really then only an opportunity for additional housing types for any future development.
Correct.
Right, you would, yeah.
And I
you'd-
just don't love that. I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like, and I get the desire to really promote people buying, but I think there's an economic reality right now where there's a lot of people who cannot buy, and affordability is really real. And while I understand kind of like people's concerns about promoting renting options as a city, I mean, I think we also have to talk about affordability in general. And I don't know. I think what's a huge kind of it's going to allow for more housing options in the future, but not where we stand right now, or the opportunity for more housing options with where we stand right now.
Yeah.
So
Is
let me ask you a question too,
Oh.
like on that example. So let's say a house burns down, right? And then they go, okay, well, I can take this lot and build 2 houses on it, or duplex. Then that SFR lot could theoretically be rezoned to 2F.
So the way I would look at it is if we were to permit the duplexes more broadly in single-family districts, you wouldn't even have to then rezone.
Okay.
It would just be allowed by right.
And so so similar situation. So if you have a lot that's big enough, and somebody says, "Hey, I've got the space. I'm going to go ahead and build an addition, right, detached or whatever it is, and rent that as multifamily." If we had more broad duplex approvals, is that something that's would that automatically go through, or is that not considered a duplex?
That would be considered duplex. I think we would deal with that more through our accessory dwelling unit.
Okay, so that's not going away. The ADUs are not.
No, this
okay.
is just talking about where do we want the duplexes? Do we want to allow them more broadly in all the single-family districts? Or do we want to have the 2-family residential district and introduce a new, or do we want to collapse those two?
Another thing
I
to
think
consider.
both options have pros and cons. I mean,
Yeah.
it's hard.
Yeah.
I
Another thing you
mean-
can also consider with this is that even if you altered your zoning, there's a reality that most of your neighborhoods built in Pflugerville have underlying CCRs
Right.
Yeah.
that more often than not include a provision of this shall be used for single-family
Correct.
detached, nothing else, so on and so forth. They say it over like 2 pages though. So there's a reality that even if you change this at the city level, what you've done is you've removed a municipal barrier to it, but there still may exist a civil barrier that you don't have a say in. So that's just something to be aware of as you're talking about this, is that
And so I guess the question too is like, let's say a non-development neighborhood, just old Pflugerville.
yeah,
Right? If we allow, if we keep the 2F, or excuse me, if we increase,
Add.
if we add
NFR.
NFR, then somebody could just show up tomorrow and, I mean, it's a property owner. They could say, hey, I want to build a duplex here. And we don't have any recourse to restrict that other than whatever else might be there. But then the question is, do we really want to be in the restricted position? Or do we want to let owners do as they please with their space?
So I guess I have another question. So neighborhood flex residential only as duplexes, and these are attached, not detached? Is that the?
I think the NFR would only be introduced if we did not allow duplexes universally. NFR would say you can have regular homes, but you also have the option for having duplexes if you would like.
Yeah, as drafted, the NFR district is a broader district that would include duplexes. It also includes single family. It also includes townhouse.
Yeah,
includes a
okay,
few
that's
other
what I was going to ask. Yeah, it doesn't.
So
It just says
yeah.
duplexes.
Yeah, it's a broader
But you're talking also like modular type homes where there's a foundation. You put the house on the foundation. It's that. Is that what you're talking about too?
Not necessarily. So modular type housing is completely different. If it's actually designated as modular house, it's treated just like site built. If
It is.
If it meets
It's
building
treated
code,
like single family.
If it's
yeah, if it meets
modular.
building
If
code,
it's
it meets
modular.
building code. But the other, what you're kind of talking about with that is you can have a scenario where you keep 2F. I think we're still planning to create the NFR regardless. It's
Right.
whether you want to have duplexes allowed in all of your other districts and make 2F go away or not.
No. Okay. Got it. Okay.
That's the question.
That's the question. The question is, yeah,
helps me.
that was way better.
Argument
Yeah.
for why we should do that. So setting aside the covenant restrictions that might be out there, if a neighborhood exists right now, got a bunch of single-family homes, one of them burns down, and it's a large enough lot, and they decide to build a duplex. That duplex is not is not likely to be a company that's building a bunch of duplexes for a rental farm. This is one duplex in a sea of a bunch of single-family homes. And now we have 2 homes instead of 1. And that's better. It's just better to have more homes in our neighborhoods. And we can't stop folks from apparently renting now. And so what's the difference between a hedge fund that owns a single-family home and rents it, and one that owns a duplex and rents it to 2 people? I don't think that really changes the dynamics much. And so on average, I think you're just going to see slowly duplexes filtering into our old neighborhoods in random circumstances where you just end up having more capacity, which I think is a good thing. So I don't think it's actually going to inspire a lot of change or problems. Now, you then may have some new neighborhoods that are going to take advantage, and when they're designing a new build, intersperse duplexes and single-family homes. But again, I don't think that's a bad thing. That's just more capacity and more variety of homes.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wondering from like the city's perspective, would they want, like within the comprehensive plan, a lot of it is going to the idea of more flex, more options. So I think we would really encourage any future developments to not be the traditional 2F. People are buying into a neighborhood knowing that there's different housing types. And I like that point. I as someone who's lived in duplexes my whole life and a single mom who, I'm not a single mom. My mother was single, a single mom. And that was an option for us to live in a neighborhood that had a nice school district, but it was a little bit more affordable. It doesn't change it. The house it looks like a house from the outside. It's not like it's anything that doesn't meet the aesthetic of a neighborhood. They have an HOA or something, they might not be able to do it anyways if that's against the aesthetic of the neighborhood. Right. I personally think that it should be permitted universally. That's my opinion.
Yeah. Is there like a percentage of switching neighborhood flex residential, like 20, 40, 30, 80%? Is there something?
There could be. I mean, this really is more just, do we want to allow the duplexes everywhere? Okay. Do we want to retain these 2? And then also, just for the sake of time, we've got 15 minutes left for this.
I mean, I think I would retain these 2.
Okay, retain. How do you feel? Retain.
Expand, permit across.
Permit across.
Again, I like having the neighborhood, the NFR, and I think this would happen regardless.
Sure.
But so if the question is just have duplexes in 2F versus allow duplexes everywhere, I'm allow duplexes everywhere.
Okay. And yours is do not?
Do not allow.
Do not, and it sounded like...
I want to keep the 2-family and neighborhood flex residential.
So 2 and 2, Mr. Chair.
2 and 2.
But we still have 2 more over there.
Oh, yeah.
Get more friends.
Sorry,
Yeah,
you
go
guys got to jump in.
Do not.
Should have put you over here.
I'm actually for kind of the flexibility of having.
There's no typer.
Yeah.
So expand, yep, and then retain, so keep it, oh man, come on now.
Well, they just want our opinion. They're not really, it's not really we can't go home until this is
One of the
settled
takeaways we
kind
might
of deal.
take from this is y'all are pretty evenly split on this conversation. So what we may keep in the back of our mind is, the level of effort to tweak this one way or the other is not real high. So we can kind of keep this as an options open, and maybe it'll help, we get down to the, towards the end, you can see it in greater context. Maybe this is also a topic that, hey, we're split on this. This punts to city council for a bigger conversation. And that's perfectly valid too.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Thank you very much. In the interest of time, topic 2. The key question is, does the city support the approach of allowing and requiring a mix of lot sizes within SFR to promote a broader range of housing options while maintaining single-family neighborhood
Don't know what
character?
to do. So we're just keeping it as
So
is right now.
instead of the percentage mix, the 90-10 percentage mix, right? Now it's just a mix of lot sizes.
Right, it would be half the lots could be the standard lots, a quarter could be the small lots, so then.
I think that's great.
A quarter could be the large lots as well, rather than just 90/10.
Okay.
Yep.
Is there any
It's
big
perfect.
discussion on this
I'm
item?
okay with that.
I'm pro on this one.
All right.
I wouldn't-
I'm more
Anything? Yeah, all pro thumbs up, thumbs up. All right, so yep, that sounds like we're all in support of that. All right, and then item 3, does the city support defining and regulating developments as unified development type using SFS standards with option alley load incentive? So, it sounds like the mechanism, it would incentivize this type of development specifically for alley load. That's for aesthetics, walkability, and I assume waste management, solid waste.
Yeah, largely the walkability, more pedestrian orientation. Whenever you look down the street, you see the sidewalks and street trees like you see in this picture, rather than the front of a garage as you look down. Also, just more pedestrian oriented, safer for folks to be on the street and in the front yard where you don't have cars that are pulling into their driveway passing through. So we included that reduction as an incentive to encourage alleys.
They say a reduction of 20% minimum lot area. So if it's a 7,500 square foot lot, you're dropping it 1,500 feet. So the lot size is 6,000. But we're assuming that the alleyways take up more developable land.
SFS is 9,000 square feet, so it would go, I think, to 7,200 with the 20%.
Is there going to be like
Reduction.
flexibility on like 20% detached garages, 20% attached garages in the back? I know that math was completely off, but is there any kind of rules on that? Because
Right
not
now-
everyone, like, it would be prettier if some of the garages were attached to the house versus not attached to the house. I've seen both, obviously, here in Pflugerville. But
You mean in the alley loaded development
Yeah,
option or the
correct.
other? We don't have anything programmed in right now since you wouldn't be able to really see it from the street anyway, but that's something we could look at.
okay. It's just a nicer look instead of having every house look the same.
Okay, any big thoughts on this?
Yeah, I'm fine with this. Again, like I said, I like to do this. My only concern would just be to say that I wouldn't want this to be our only and main effort of reducing standards to incentivize build. I don't want to incentivize rentals. I'm great to have them. It's good to, but I am very more hopeful in the NFR and the incentivize reducing barriers to incentivize that kind of build over this. But I still like this just fine.
I like it as well. It gives some level of control towards development oriented communities. I'm fine with this one.
No concerns.
No concerns.
No, I'm good.
So let me make sure I understand this particular SFS. So if somebody has 100 acres and they say, hey, I want to build 100 or 300 single family detached, then they can do that, but that would be under an SFR designation. Is that correct? So if they wanted to build all these and then rent them out, like if I'm trying to ask here. So if someone wanted to come in and build a single family development that was 100% for rent, designed and built for that purpose, what designation would they use to do that now?
Currently?
Under your current code?
Yeah.
A few options.
Check.
A few options to do
Yeah,
that.
I mean, you could do it in multifamily. You could also,
So these would be single family detached. This particular product, single family detached, build to rent.
we have a
Right.
few of those right now.
Are you eliminating those and consolidating it to one?
So like
Because that seems very confusing.
Am I?
So we don't get into owner or rental in our types. So we have a lot of flexibility within our existing code right now.
I see.
So we're not looking at, is it build to rent? We have something in the code right now, but it's really teetering on the once you start, I think we have something in there called the condo or something, and it's really
Yeah.
tricky to actually be able to limit based on if it's a condo or not, and condos don't stop renting either. And so to get into the ownership, we can't do that.
Okay.
So this is really just more about, do we want detached and build to rent, and would you incentivize with smaller lots on that to allow some of those other detached condo and some of the build to rent developments that have popped up?
Okay.
And are these ADUs?
No.
No, it's
No, it's a very, very
That's,
different.
yeah, that one is a totally different.
Okay,
code.
okay.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah, I know. I had
still
the same.
making sure, because
Yeah.
this, what's the difference between this and an ADU? Sorry. I feel like it's a
ADU
very
will be,
basic question, but
a secondary dwelling unit that would be, it's typically just secondary, obviously, to the main house. And
this
it
is-
doesn't have to be someone that you know. You could have totally separate entrances. Sometimes you can see them loaded on top of a separate garage. There's a lot of different options, but it's a secondary dwelling that's ancillary to your main dwelling.
And then this one is just by itself, its own house.
okay.
Okay. So it sounds like we have no major objections to this.
No.
All right, great.
And my other takeaway from that is several of y'all mentioned wanting to push the incentives harder on the NFR because of the potential for owner opportunity
Yeah.
a little bit.
I don't know. I'm kind of tossed on incentives right now. I'm
Yeah.
happy with the zoning codes changes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, and the incentives would be more of lot size
regulatory
reductions, things like that.
Oh,
It's-
okay.
We're not
Yeah,
ever
right.
going to be discussing any 380s or anything.
Okay. Okay. Yeah.
Sorry, yeah, when I use the word incentive, I just mean less regulation, not less requirements, not
Yeah,
dollars.
3 is all that. I let economic go do,
Okay.
economic development go
Yeah.
do their
Okay.
thing.
All right.
Okay. Anything further?
I was just curious, whenever it comes to public engagement related to UDC, is there any thoughts or considerations of utilizing some of our existing festivals or community gathering events to solicit feedback on?
Yes.
Okay.
Didn't you have one?
We will be having, staff, you'll see us, can I talk? You will see staff at the upcoming event on April 25th.
Slice
Is
of
it the pizza?
Pflugerville.
It's the pizza one, right?
It's the slice of Pflugerville. I
In
mean,
my
it's
head,
not
it's pizza.
just
Also hungry.
But you will see, we'll be soliciting feedback and just letting people know that we're redoing. And so we'll be out at a booth there all day. I think we're taking shifts. And we'll end just before the main music act comes on.
Sweet.
Yeah.
Awesome.
We were
Thanks.
working with staff to help with the design a board that'll be
Yeah.
there, so people will be able to add comments onto that board and QR to the website and
Great.
things like that. So
Yeah,
yes,
there should be
for sure.
multiple boards. Last time I went to one of those events, we couldn't get to the board.
Oh, we'll be sharing this with a few, but it'll be front and center.
Okay. I'm like,
We'll
it should
able
be.
to-
It should be dispersed. Like there should be a few boards
I agree.
out and about. It was very hard to get to the last time.
Okay. If there's nothing further, adjourn the meeting at 6:55. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:01. Yes, mic check, it's on. Mic check 1, 2, can you hear me? Mic check. Sorry, my microphone is low. Hello. Good evening. I'd like to call today's Planning and Zoning meeting to order at 7:01. The Planning and Zoning Commission welcomes comment on items relevant to the Planning and Zoning Commission not already scheduled on tonight's agenda. In accordance with the Texas Attorney General's opinion, any public comment that is made on an item that is not on the published agenda will only be heard by the Commission. No formal action, discussion, deliberation, or comment will be made by the Commission. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his or her name and address for the public record. Is there anyone present wishing to address the Commission? All right. Thank you. Item 3, consent agenda. All matters listed under the consent agenda are considered routine by the Commission and will be enacted by one motion. These items include preliminary and final plats where staff has found compliance with all minimum subdivision regulations. All items approved by consent are approved with any and all staff recommendations. There will not be a separate discussion of these items. If any commissioner desires to discuss an item on the consent agenda, it will be removed from the regular agenda for further consideration. Commissioners, are there any items that the Commission wishes to remove from the consent agenda?
No.
All right, hearing none, I'll read them. Item 3A, number 2026-0343, approve the Planning and Zoning Commission minutes for the March 2nd, 2026 regular meeting. And item 3B, 2026-0331, approving a preliminary plan for Cameron Valley, a 76.68 acre tract located in the southeast corner of Stager Lane and Cameron Road out of the Andrew Austin Survey number 19, abstract number 38, and GB Simpleman and JV Bergen Survey number 285, abstract number 2370 in Travis County, Texas, PP 2025-000430. I'll accept the motion in a second to approve items 3A and 3B.
Motion to approve.
A second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that passes. Thank you. Agenda item 4, public hearing. The Commission welcomes comment on the following items. Each person providing public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and will be asked to state his or her name and address for the public record. Item 4A, number 2026-0357, to receive public comment and consider an ordinance amending the City of Pflugerville Code of Ordinances Title 15, Land Usage, Chapter 153, Planning, by amending the future land use map in the historic colored addition subdivision from parks and open spaces to traditional neighborhood for the following Travis County property IDs, number 980714, 980715, all to be known as the Dixon Lockett Comprehensive Plan Amendment, number CPA 2026-00060. Is there anyone present wishing to address the Commission about this item? That'd be you. Go ahead.
It's only my second time here. Good evening, Chair and Commissioners. My name is Cleveland Rodriguez, Planner 1 with the Planning and Development Services Department. The item before you is a proposed amendment to the future land use map within the comprehensive plan. The request seeks to change the land use designation of 2 parcels in the historic colored addition from parks and open spaces to traditional neighborhood. The subject properties are located along Taylor Avenue with between Russell Street to the east and Caldwell Lane to the west. Originally platted as 5 lots in April 1910. As part of the Colored Addition subdivision, the area was annexed into the city in 1995 and assigned the base zoning district of agriculture/open. The applicants first met with city staff in 2022 to discuss constructing homes on the properties. Following a pre-application conference, staff advised that the properties would need to be replatted. Replatting was completed and recorded in 2023. The applicants again contacted the city in August of 2025 to continue discussions on the development requirements. After further review, staff determined that the future land use map amendment would be necessary before the project could move forward. Under the current future land use map, each of the 2 parcels, approximately 0.35 acres in size, is designated as parks and open space, which does not permit residential use. The applicants are seeking a change to the traditional neighborhood designation to allow for residential development. The properties are currently zoned agriculture, as you can see on the screen to your left, which in the Unified Development Code identifies as a district intended for agricultural use or as an interim zoning designation for underdeveloped land with future growth potential. If the future land use map amendment is approved, the applicants will subsequently request for a rezoning from agriculture, which is the current zoning designation, you can see that on your right, to single-family suburban zoning district. The future land use categories. The Aspire 2040 comprehensive plan guides long-term land use growth and development. Parks and open space areas are intended to preserve natural spaces and provide recreational opportunities. The park locations are not shown on the future land use map as they can be located within all of the zoning districts, but instead they are identified in the Parks and Open Space Master Plan. The proposed designation, traditional neighborhood, supports primarily single-family homes on individual lots with variable densities and a mix of housing types. It may also accommodate a limited neighborhood serving retail or office uses. The historic colored edition is located within the central district of the 2040 Aspire plan. Aspirational actions for this district emphasize supporting locally owned businesses, walkability, context-sensitive design, and strengthening relationships between established neighborhoods. The district envisions a diverse range of housing and encourages aesthetic improvements to older commercial areas. The requested amendment aligns with these goals and continues to support the district's long-term vision. As you can see on the screen, the approval criteria. The amendment will establish a land use designation consistent with the applicant's intended residential rezoning and the Unified Development Code. A capital improvement project is currently underway in the historic colored edition, providing for a full roadway reconstruction, underground utilities, sidewalks, street lightings, and other aspects of that master plan. The neighborhood has always been intended for residential use, and completion of the CIP will further support the residential development. And also another thing to note that this CIP project was part of the 2020 voter-approved bond program. Staff finds that the proposed amendment aligns with and supports the goals of the Aspire Pflugerville 2040 comprehensive plan and ensures consistency between the future land use map and applicants' anticipated rezoning request. Based on this analysis, staff recommends approval of the future land use map amendment. I'm here to answer any questions, as well as the applicant is also here to answer if any questions that you have.
Thank you. No. Any questions? All right, then I'll accept the motion to close public comments.
Motion to close public comment?
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor of closing public comment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, thank you very much. No additional comment or discussion?
I'm ready for a motion.
Yeah, me too.
All right, I will accept the motion.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All right, there we have a motion and a second to approve it as drafted with staff recommendations.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Romig? All right, all those in favor of accepting the proposed change signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right. So now on to, here we go, I'm so sorry. Discuss and consider. So agenda item number 5, items on the consent agenda may be pulled and moved to the regular agenda. So we have, I'm so sorry.
I think we're on 5A.
Are we on 5A now?
Yeah.
All right,
We're on
so sorry.
B.
All right, nothing was pulled. I apologize. So item number 5A, item number 2026-0356, FY 2026 fee update. And I believe we have a staff report. Is that correct?
So for the item in front of you, you have all of that information in your packet. You can see that the city of Pflugerville, no,
Oh.
your regular packet should be in there. It's been attached as an,
Oh, the attachment. Oh, no.
yeah, sorry. No, there, it was in the attachment in the packet. Sorry, not that packet. That's for this next item that we're going to get to.
Apologies.
So you can see that where we are with fees is pretty much in line with where the other cities are as well. The only one that I would say, if there was any discussion, and there was some internal discussion, is that perhaps our PUD fees for the amendment should be slightly modified, only because they are a little bit lower. It could go to something more in line with what some of the other cities are doing. I believe that's usually 50% of the original PUD fee for the amendments.
It's in the commercial one, right? You're doing commercial? Or,
Oh, there's permitting fees, and then there's the zoning fees are in there as well.
yeah, there's,
So you can see the building permit fees. Building permit fees, we're not looking at changing at this point.
okay.
We are in line.
Sorry, we're opening them.
Oh, okay. No, I'm just having Wi-Fi issues. Classic.
Let's see.
Goodness gracious.
I don't think I had any when I was looking at this earlier. It was very hard to read it because it didn't flow on one page.
Yeah, we have
Yeah.
a lot of information.
Yeah,
To be able to
so
get through all of it.
I had a little bit of.
So I guess to clarify, in terms of action we need to take, you're asking for an approval of the fee update, is that correct?
It's really just saying, yes, we see what the fees are, and we're not going to make any changes unless you see anything that you think we should make changes on. The only thing that came up internally was looking at the PUD amendment, but even then, we're pretty much in line. It's just that when I see the PUD amendments coming forward, we're doing more than $1,000 worth of staff time and work, and so that's where it was like, well, we could go to 50%, but if you look at what other cities are doing, we're still pretty much in line.
Okay.
So if you want to discuss, you can, but at this point, we can also just say that we're not changing fees for this upcoming fiscal year.
So it
And
would stay the same as last year.
it would stay the same as last year, and then we'll
Oh.
revisit it in
Okay,
the
got
upcoming
it.
year.
All right.
And
Yeah.
do you anticipate detrimental impact if we keep it the same or
No.
change it?
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Any thoughts or
Thank you for
consideration or
clarifying that.
discussion? Yeah.
Any, no complaints or from developers? No, I mean, obviously they'd love the fees to be lower.
That is a trick question.
You know,
Um,
any particular thing y'all have seen like, oh, we're not getting very many of these anymore, and maybe that's for you.
Not really. I mean, we've definitely seen, we have the ebb and flow where we'll have some big platting years, then we have some really big permitting years just because the way that the development cycle goes. But I haven't really heard a whole bunch on our permitting or the zoning, planning and zoning fees that we have in there. As far as review fees, obviously we get feedback on impact fees and other
Impact fees,
things.
Yeah, that's the one.
But that's
killer.
not something that we're going to be discussing under our fees. Those are already set.
Yeah, good with it.
Pretty in line with everyone else.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Then I will accept a motion in a second to approve the FY26 fee update.
I'll make a motion, we accept the FY26 fee update.
So moved and in a second.
A second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the FY 2026 fee update. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. The ayes have it. Thank you.
Awesome, thank you.
All right, item number 5B, 2026-0290, discussion regarding the 5-year capital improvement plan for fiscal years 2027 through 2031.
45 seconds?
Yeah.
Good evening, Commissioners. For the record, Matt Rector, I am your Director of Utilities and Engineering. So what we're going to present to you tonight is the first draft of the 5-year capital improvement plan. I'm going to refer to it here on out from as the CIP, just to save us a few seconds. You have packets in front of you. I'll reiterate, these are draft. This is our first draft for this cycle. We are actively making edits on this document. In addition, we are simultaneously having conversations about a potential bond election, and so as the ebb and flow of that bond committee and projects come in and go out and get tweaked, that changes the CIP, and so we're going back and forth between the two and trying to coordinate all that. And so this is just to kind of get you start understanding these projects and what we're looking at and what we're proposing in the 5-year program. We will come back to you a second time and have a more in-depth conversation as you've been able to digest it. Obviously, throwing a bunch of pages right in front of you with a lot of numbers and projects is a lot to digest in a very short amount of time, and we're hoping to not be here until the wee hours of the morning. We'll just kind of go through it with a high-level overview, and then you guys can ask the questions that may come up, and if you don't have questions, that's okay. Like I said, we're going to come back to you a second time to try to get a finalized version in front of you and get you guys in a good spot so that you're ready to make your recommendation to City Council.
Okay, so today's only to like hear what's going on, and then
It's basically to present the draft, kind of give you guys an overview of what we're thinking, where we're at, how we're progressing, to start helping you digest some of this. And then we'll come back to you and with a more finalized version, and you'll have had time to jot down all of your questions and think about the projects that we're proposing and ask why we're proposing it in that year instead of a different year or whatever the questions may be.
okay. Thank you.
So I kind of touched on all this stuff. We have tried to make sure that we are in alignment with the comprehensive plan as well as the council strategic plan. We're going to give you a high-level overview on funding sources. I don't want to go too in-depth. Some of this stuff you guys probably already know. Real quick, definition of the capital improvement plan. It's the long-term plan for how we're going to do our capital improvements. How we're going to build our roads, how we're going to do our water lines, wastewater lines, reclaimed water lines, our parks, our facilities. It's a 5-year look at what we think is coming. We are only adopting 1 year, so we're only adopting what we're going to do in 27. 28, 29, 30, and 31 are just kind of projections. They're just planning years. And so when we adopt that, that's really what we're going to be trying to get you guys to hone in on is what we're doing in 27. Like I said, we tried to align it to the comprehensive plan as well as the council strategic plan. And so you'll see references throughout the document to those documents. The basis, we're trying to think about how we're prioritizing our projects. We're trying to think about the growth that's coming. We're trying to think about the problem areas within the city. We're trying to think about, where do we have our pinch points for intersections? Where do we have struggles with water lines? But then we also have to think about where do we have to go back and try to fix some of the infrastructure that's been in the ground for a long time that maybe has reached the end of its life. And so we have to look at, should we start adjusting some of those things? So all of that kind of comes in, and we take the comp plan, we take all of our master plans, we take the condition reports, citizens' requests, look at growth and development, we throw it all together, and lo and behold, out comes the CIP. And so that's kind of how we are trying to push this forward. This is my first year in doing this in Pflugerville, and so it's been a steep learning curve for me, so just bear with me as we walk through all this. I talked about the funding source. I said we were going to talk about funding sources. So you have certificates of obligations. So that's a CO. If you hear council talk about COs, that's what they're talking about. You have general obligations. So the GOs are the ones where we have to. That's when we go out for voter approval. COs, council doesn't necessarily have to get voter approval. They can just go incur debt. GOs, they do. We look at federal grants, we get impact fees, we have the tax incremental reinvestment zone, TERS, WIFIA, that's a federal program, that's a loan program basically that we are using to fund a lot of our water and wastewater reclaimed water projects. We try to go and work with Campo, Texas Water Development Board, as well as partnering with Travis County, Williamson County, TxDOT, anywhere that we can try to get extra money so that we're not footing the whole bill for everything that we're putting into this plan. Like I said, reclaimed water, wastewater facilities, drainage, transportation, parks. And so we have 7 reclaimed water projects in the CIP. And for that, I'm going to ask Jeff Dunsworth to come up and talk you through some of the utility projects.
Thank you, Matt. For the record, I'm Jeff Dunsworth, Assistant Utility Director, City Engineer. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to present our very robust CIP. See here is the first item in my presentation includes the reclaimed water CIP. It's a number of projects. This is a graph that's from our reuse report, an exhibit from the reuse report. Simply illustrates the green areas we have within the city that would benefit from reuse water. Said reuse water is a great, one of the best methods to conserve our portable water. We have proposed in the CIP 7 reclaimed water projects. There are different numbers, different locations, most of them in the southeast corridor of the city. So one of the big projects and big water users within the city is 1849 Park. One of the projects includes a new reuse line from our central wastewater treatment plant to 1849 Park. There's also an extension along Weiss Lane. We'd like to irrigate some of the schools, industrial users, parks, including the Lake Pflugerville Park area. Other include the Reclaimed Water Master Plan. That just wants us to be environmentally sound, make sure we're using water in the right place. Number of funding sources, as Matt mentioned, you'll see throughout most of these slides, the water, wastewater, and the reuse. We're using the WIFIA program through EPA. It's a Water Infrastructure Finance and Innovation Act. It allows up to 49% of project funding to be approved. It's a loan program, as Matt mentioned, and we team that up with other state, federal programs to minimize the cost to our ratepayer. This is the master plan. So this is our current system there at the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant. Said it's to ensure resiliency, mitigate potable water demand strains on our system. The water CIP. We currently have the water treatment plant expansion underway. It's going to increase our capacity from 17.7 MGD to 30 MGD. We have other projects that include our transmission facilities, booster pump stations, pipelines, etc. And said there's 17 water projects located throughout the city. It's a benefit that we must make sure that we're providing our citizens with sufficient water capacity, flow, and quality. This is our water CIP. It's rather vast. Number of millions of dollars involved, $258 million over the next 5 years. Water funding sources, once again, you see WIFIA pop up. Reserve funds are included, COs, as well as impact funds. Some of our water projects in the near horizon include Clearwell 1 rehabilitation. This will occur once the water treatment plant expansion is completion. Old Town South rehabilitation. This is recapitalize an asset, extend the life of our system, provides resiliency, improves operation, and it definitely benefits the disposition of our pipeline rehab guys. Wastewater CIP. We have projects underway to increase our treatment capacity. We have opportunities or projects underway to expand our gravity system, the large diameter interceptors. We also have updates to our existing infrastructure, the downtown area, older parts of the city. These projects are spread throughout. Notice there's a number of interceptors, pump stations, and treatment facilities moving east. As we expand eastward, our vast CCN actually crosses 973, approaches Hutto, Manor, some of the other communities to our far east. Wastewater CIP, a number of projects associated. Total $490 million over the next 5 years. Once again, our funding, see a big portion of that is covered through the EPA WIFIA program. We have a number of future, even the future WIFIA program, and TWDB. And that's the Texas Water Development Board, state agency that is providing EPA funding through the Clean Water and Drinking Water SRF programs. Some of the wastewater projects we have underway is the Sunlight Nearway Force Main. This is one from the Carmel Lift Station, crosses SH 130 and comes down along the to the wastewater treatment plant, central wastewater treatment plant. We have other projects underway to rehab some of our infrastructure, aging infrastructure, central wastewater treatment plant. That was some of the projects, and now we'll turn it over to facilities.
Okay, so in the facilities CIP, you'll find that we have 12 projects. Obviously, they're kind of spread out throughout the whole city. We are going to get you guys some better maps for this stuff, so that we're going to color code them and highlight some things so we can kind of line it up with the tables a little easier, make it a little easier to see, a little easier to follow. The big things that we're going to do in facilities in 2027, you can see we've already got the city hall and the rec center in work. We've got the public works complex being constructed. The big things that we're going to be pushing for, as it stands today, is the downtown parking garage. We're looking at doing a roof replacement on the library. We'll be starting an ADA transition plan later this year, and then trying to finalize it next year. And then we're going to work on the evidence area of the Justice Center and start working on the pause building, and that's one of the ones that's in that bond, the GEO bond that I had mentioned earlier on. And then once everybody moves out of the current public works area and moves into the new public works building, then look at that building 1 renovation so that parks can move in there and expand out a little bit. And like everything, we have a lot of different funding sources. So you can see we've got 4 different current COs, 1 future CO, another future debt, which is yet to be determined. Then you have the GO bond. Then we're using some general fund. That's what the GF is, general fund reserves. And then you have some older GO bond monies out there that we're using to make up that $409 million that we're projecting over the 5-year CIP. So there you see a picture of the downtown east complex where that parking garage is going to go. You can see that is not the new pause shelter. That is the current pause shelter, showing you that we need a new shelter. And then just a list of the extra projects over there on the side. Public Works Building 1, like I said, that's going to get expanded so that the park staff has a little more elbow room. The evidence processing here at the Justice Center needs some TLC, so we're going to give it some TLC. Justice Center expansion, that's more of a long-term thing. We're going to start looking at more of a feasibility type approach on that rather than just jumping in and expanding that right away. And with that, I will kick it over to Hassan for drainage.
I'm Hassan Raza, Transportation Engineering Manager. I'm also relatively new here, about 4 months, so I'll try to do my best to go over our program. So the first one is a drainage capital improvement program. We're programming 10 drainage projects. These are currently not funded. Pending possible grant, future utility drainage, general obligation bonds. The purpose of these drainage project is really to reduce the floodplain impact on nearby houses and structures. This just gives you a general idea where these projects will be located. Most of these projects really are channel improvements, There's also a couple of detention basins and some storm drain improvements. One of the projects you will note, DR 2802, is a drainage master plan update. We developed a plan in 2023 which needs to be updated now because there are several new requirements. FEMA has new requirements and other things, so this plan needs to be updated. So as I mentioned, there's no funds currently for these drainage projects. So we're hoping that we'll have a future debt which would cover most of $68 million which we need for drainage projects. So these are just two projects and a plan update which we plan to do next year. One is Caldwell Elementary at Upper New Gilland Channel improvements. The other one is Emmanuel Road, Pecan Park at Upper Gilland Creek Channel improvement. And then the drainage master plan update. So let me, is there any question on drainage plan? No? Thank you. So I'll go to Transportation Capital Improvement Program. Basically, the emphasis of these projects are to enhance mobility, provide safety for both our motorists, as well as we building the sidewalks, the shared use paths, so that our pedestrian and bicyclists, they can use those facilities. And why we need these, obviously, as we all know, Pflugerville is growing rapidly. So with all these developments, we need more projects, just like we need more water lines and more sewer lines. So there are a total of 51 transportation projects going all the way from 27 to 31, but we also have projects from 31 to 36. So these are some of the transportation projects. Some of them are underway, some of them are planned. Just to give you an example, Kelly Lane project, we're about to complete the design work on it, so hopefully we'll start construction on it. There's other project is Emmanuel Road, which we expect to start construction in August. That road is not in a good condition and needs some work. The 685 corridor, currently we don't have funding for that, but this is one of the kind of star projects. It will be done in 6 separate projects to cover all the way from 130 to Wells Branch Parkway. So this is a listing of the projects. The way these are kind of arranged is based on their status. So most of these projects I can just quickly go over with you. First one is East Pflugerville Parkway. It goes from Colorado Sand to Weiss Lane. This project should be awarded tomorrow at a council meeting. It's about 500 days long project, should be completed end of next year. Some of the other projects I go through is one is the East Pflugerville Parkway realignment. So that is kind of continuation from Weiss Lane on to Jesse Bowl Road. This project we started working last month, so this should be completed around June next year. So that will take us all the way from Colorado Sand to Jesse Bowl Road. The pavement maintenance program, we also have a program where we look at the roads based on the citizen requests or council members or whoever, they come up and they say we need to, fix these roads. So we have that ongoing program. The other one I want to mention is the payment condition index study. The way the projects are selected, they're selected based on functional condition of the pavement and the structural condition. We don't do any structural analysis here because it's a little bit expensive, but you can drive on, look at the road and can tell, looking at the distresses like cracking, potholes, raveling, bleeding, rutting, you can look at that and can determine whether this road needs something. So that's what the pavement condition index is. It's usually rated from 0 to 100. Higher the number, better road it is. So if the numbers are lower, that means we need to do something. So as we're looking at the capital improvement program, we also need to look at preserving what we have already. So that's where the focus is for pavement maintenance program. So Piccadilly Drive, the TR 2101, it's underway, should be completed April next year. Historic colored editions, you heard in a previous presentation, it should be completed around July next year. Then we have these traffic signal improvement projects and some other safety projects. I want to mention about Emmanuel Road, which I mentioned before. We should be starting construction in August this year, and it should be completed towards the end of next year. So this is another listing of projects. As I said, we have 51 projects. 685, I already mentioned, it will be broken down into 6 projects. Right now we have only funding for right-of-way and design work. Other one I want to mention is that we are right now focusing on relief routes, so that when 681 project would start, that we want to make sure that the traffic has alternate routes where they can kind of use while the construction is ongoing. So those projects are, one is Aston Hutto and Fanning Lane. Fanning Lane is going to go from Pecan Street all the way to East Pflugerville Parkway, and Aston Hutto and Fanning, the current Fanning is kind of join that road. So those are the relief routes. There's also Fanning Lane extension to Wells Branch Parkway. That's another relief route. And the last one is Terrell Lane. That, as you know, there's a lot of congestion in the town center area. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at extending the Terrell Lane to East Pflugerville Parkway, and also taking it to Fanning Lane. So we have a kind of a grid. Other project which is we're hoping that will be added to 2026 bond is Melbourne Lane. We have some money for that. This goes from Cameron Road all the way to Pleasanton Parkway. So, and actually it goes beyond that. There are 2 bridges involved in that. So it's a 30% stage. So we're looking at that. Other one is Weiss Lane. Weiss Lane, as you know, it's 4-lane road coming towards the Pecan Street. So, but where it meets the Pecan, it's 2 lanes. So we're widening it to the 4-lane. Hopefully that project will be done if we have funding towards the end of next year. So these are some other projects, which, as you can see, we don't have much money for them. Most of the money will be 28, 29, 30, but they're listed here, so you have a complete picture of what projects in this program. These are some other projects. Again, we won't have any funding for right up to 2029. The overall program is about $962 million, which take us from 2026 to 2036, 10 years. The first 5-year capital program actually is where the most of the projects will be undertaken. The way we have programmed them, it'll be about $833 million for the first 5 years. And then about 130 million for the following 5 years. So as Matt mentioned before, the money is going to come from different sources if it comes. Some of the projects which we are undertaking are in design or in construction. We have the money from the previous certificate of obligations or co-bonds, but majority of the money we're looking at, future go-bonds. These are just some of the projects I want to mention. Fanning Lane extension to East Pecan Street to Wells Branch Parkway. So this is one of the relief route. Other projects are, as I mentioned, there are 6 projects on 685, but it all depends on the money. If we get funding, then we'll kind of design and award these projects in phases. I already mentioned about the payment condition index study. It has not been done previously, so we have this payment maintenance program, which doesn't have really any kind of quantified data behind it. It's all somebody likes to have a project, so they call us and we put them on the plan. But we hope to make it more kind of an objective program where we do actual study, go out and look at the projects and see what projects are needed and what we can defer. And there's again, the objective of these projects is just to preserve what we have. Just to give you an idea, in the United States, we need about $1 trillion to keep our infrastructure in a good condition. So it's building new projects is good because we need more expansion, but as we build more and more infrastructure, we need to go back and keep preserving it. Just I want to mention about this 685 and Pecan intersection is one of the heaviest congested intersection, has a kind of a unique geometry to it, and that really needs to be looked at, and it is part of the 685 plan. We have money for the design and a right-of-way. One thing is we also planning to extend that intersection to Railroad Avenue, so that because that area is all integrated as part of downtown project as well. Okay, with that, before I go, are there any questions?
Question?
Yes.
And
Yes.
I think we'll ask questions too at the end, but because you brought it up, the 685 Pecan intersection, right now there are 2 separate projects, the Finnig Lane to Applewood and then Applewood to East Pecan, but they're both the same costs. Is that one project technically that's being shown on 2 different pages?
Yeah, actually we're looking at the whole corridor from Wells Branch Parkway to 130, but there'll be 6 separate projects when we go actually to construction. So Fanning Lane intersection will be dealt under one project, and then other intersection like East Pflugerville and Applewood, they all be kind of depending on where they fall. So we're going to start from one side, which is based on the traffic study and all that. I don't know if I answered that question or not.
So they're both noted in these 2 as $32,460,000.
Yes.
Is it actually a $65 million project and has just been divided in half, or is it counted twice?
Yeah, it's a 65 million. The total cost of the project is about 150 to 170 million dollars, starting from 130 to Wells Branch Parkway.
Okay.
So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So.
That's hard to follow in here. I think. Okay, cool.
Yeah, we'll make
get
it better
and everything. But
as Matt said, this is just a draft.
Okay.
We need to look at it and make it even better, so it's easy to read.
okay, thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
We'll have more.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a lot of stuff.
Good evening, Commissioners. I'm Jeff O'Shea, Assistant Parks and Recreation Director. As a quick aside, I just want to say, just because of the word infrastructure there reminded me of this, but this city has made some pretty massive investments and incredible investments in their Parks and Rec system over the last 5 to 10 years. I think that shows in a lot of ways. I don't think we think of parks as infrastructure very often. We've talked a lot internally, and I think with some of our community about the idea of social infrastructure and healthy infrastructure that these provide. And just as an aside, because I think it's one, fun, and two, important, we just submitted an application for the National Gold Medal for our department. They award one per year in different classifications, have 4 finalists. The reason I bring that up is because the investments that this city has made is what I think makes us eligible and a great candidate for that. And obviously the beneficiary of that, as much as we want to win, because that's what we do with it's our life's work essentially, is this industry. This community benefits. If to win a gold medal or to be a finalist for a gold medal, you have to have made significant investments in your system, and this city has done that. And so excited to talk to you about what we've got coming down the pipe. So we have 14 park projects, and some of these are continuations of existing projects, future phases. You'll see we've got some large scale things going into 2031 and on past that year, but we'll talk about the project starting in 2027. So you'll see, you'll notice a lot of the funding for this is future GO debt. So several of these are going to be on the 2026 bond for citizens to vote later this year. And some of these are general fund, like this one. So as crazy as it sounds, I know this city did an incredible job before I got here with their Parks, Recreation, Open Space Master Plan, getting over 30,000 touch points. That seems like it wasn't that long ago, but we're coming up on 5 years that was adopted. And it's industry standard. It's also required by Texas Parks and Wildlife if we wanted to go out for grants for federal funding or for state funding to have an update every 5 years. And so we'll be starting our master plan update next year, even though it feels like we just completed the last one. I will say we have really achieved a lot of the goals that were set out. And again, the CIP is a big part of that, but our deliverables have been pretty well checked off. And so this is going to be really important for us going into the next 5 years after this plan's completed. So we'll start that in 2027 and complete it in 2028. It'll be pretty robust, again, because we've completed a lot of those action items that it lined out. 1849 Park Phase 3, which is the final plan for the old Pfluger property. That's currently only ball fields. This is the northern portion of 1849. So the project includes improved natural areas, interpretive education amphitheater, destination playground, a lot of nature. And so the 2014 master plan, I think it's 2014 or 2013 for 1849, designated this site for a 2,000 seat amphitheater and some festival grounds. Although we don't think, just with the way that the department and the city has changed, we're not sure that that's the best use of this space. Our thoughts, and we'll go into design with pretty extensive community engagement because that's such an old master plan that we're working off of. We have a lot of data to use to say what we think the community wants. We will not just rely on that. So when we get into design on projects like this, especially when it's working off of an old master plan, we will re-engage the community to see, is that actually still what the community wants? Do we want to go in a different direction? As it sits right now with what we've seen from our master plan, what we've seen in public engagement on other projects, we think that largely this was supposed to include a lot of natural areas, nature trails, things like that. We think doubling down on that's probably going to be a great effort for this property. So you'll see that's Melbourne Lane, future Melbourne Lane that bisects the northern part of this park. And to the east of it, what we have in our mind is kind of think a state park, state park amenities. We're the trail capital of Texas. Most of our trails, 99% or more of our trails are 10-foot, paved sidewalks. And so the idea of adding some nature trails and state park-like amenities is something that was talked about in our master plan through public engagement. It's something that we're deficient on right now. And then across Mulber Lane, it's pickleball courts, tennis courts, dog park, some other amenities that are needed. And again, as we get into design on this project in 2027, the first thing will be public engagement to see where we are from the 2014 master plan. Is any of it relevant at this point? That was so long ago. Things have changed so drastically. And maybe they did such a good job in 2014 that it still does represent what the community wants in that area. Reunion Park. So this is located in the HCA, the Historic Colored Edition. This is identified in the Aspire 2040 comp plan and the future land use map, though you just saw some of that get reworked, but there's space in the HCA for future parks and open space. And so this park will celebrate the history of that area, pay homage to we've heard a ton of stories about reunions and community gatherings that happened in that site over the course of generations. And so our hope is to provide a space so that can continue. Most of that's privately owned now, so the city would purchase land with land acquisition dollars and build something similar to what you see here, a gathering space, a recreational space, and then something that tells the story of that community. I think I have a couple of slides hidden. Okay. Well, what we also have on the 2026 bond is trail improvements. Obviously, as Trail Capital of Texas, we want to make sure we're continuing to close trail gaps. We're building trails where the Mobility Master Plan identified them, and so we've got funding for that. And then with any bond, we always want to have land acquisition dollars there. One, for trails. Sometimes you've got to buy property to connect trail portions, segments. And then with development, we get, sometimes we get parkland, sometimes we get fee in lieu, but we always get development dollars from new residential development. And there are times when you've got money, but you don't have land. And so part of having land acquisition in the bond will be, if we've got a pot of money and we need to purchase land to build parks, particularly community parks that will service newer residential developments, then we have that flexibility to do that. Those are two other projects you should have seen there, but I'll be happy to answer any questions you have.
I don't think I have any.
Thank you.
So, well, I don't know about parks. Are we? I was saving my questions for the end as an overall question. Should I address?
I hope I'm not supposed to do this part, but I could try.
I'll
Okay.
wait. I'll wait. Yeah.
Thanks, John. So I think we're getting close to wrapping it up so you guys can ask your questions. As I've alluded to, tonight we're presenting you the draft. We'll come back in about a month with a more finalized copy, and you guys can grill us with all your questions, dig into the weeds, and we'll talk through everything. We're doing things a little bit different this year. So not only is it my first year with Pflugerville getting to do this, but they decided that they were going to change up the entire process anyway. So there will actually be 3 presentations with City Council, and we're trying to get them to adopt the CIP prior to the budget rather than with the budget. So that's why it's a little bit of a change up this year. In prior years, they adopted everything up in one big packet, and so we're trying to get them to adopt it first, and then it gets added to the budget afterwards. And with that, now we'll take any questions.
Yeah, I won't go into over detail. I know that one about transportation was detailed. But I was just curious, where, like as a city, do we communicate just the progress of bonds in general? Like almost like a for this bond, this is what was promised. These are the projects that have been delivered. These are the ones that are pending. And I asked that question too, knowing that we're going into a bond election in 2026 this year, and not trying to go with my pet, expertise. I work in bonds with school districts, but if we really want to kind of promote and give the public an understanding of what have they funded so far, especially since there's been some pretty major investments, I think it would be helpful. I think it was a discussion we kind of had last year too, kind of like it's hard to follow, when it comes to bonds, what has been approved, what has been completed, what is remaining, and that helps tell a story of like why we need more funding now, and it highlights the successful delivery of previous bonds. So I'm just curious, I don't know if this is the place, like this specific document, but I do think it needs to be connected in some way to this document. But I don't know if the city has currently like annual documents that show bond progress.
So we have multiple tools, but one of the things that we are doing this year, and specifically because we are going out for another bond election, is there will be a presentation coming very soon to the public, to City Council, to talk about all the projects that were voted for in the 2020 bond. What is the current status? How many have been completed? How much money has been spent to date? How many of them are scheduled for completion? When are they scheduled for completion? How much money remains in that? Basically, hitting on all the points that you're referring to.
Okay, so like a presentation to them, but it probably wouldn't be like a document that would be publicly accessible on the website.
I imagine that we would make the presentation publicly accessible once we present it.
Okay.
I don't know if we're going to set up a standalone website or anything like that. That's not my area, but
Yeah.
that's kind of where we're going to try to facilitate those conversations. And then in general, we sorry, I don't know.
It was very weird.
And then in general, we're also going to do the same thing with just like non-GOs, but like talk about, hey, here's all the projects that you funded for utilities that weren't on a GO election, but just where we're at, what we're doing, where we're trying to take things, how much money we spent, when we're going to have these projects done, that kind of thing.
So, hearing what you're saying, adding on to that, looking at the total CIP, 36% is future debt, 24% is future general obligation debt. That's a pretty substantial amount of future debt that we're anticipating. And so, based on her comments, I would echo that entirely. And I know the city does a really great job of advertising itself, but I would, and our success and the things that are going on. But to go back to the public and our ratepayers and say, hey, we're going to do this again, and here's why. I think it behooves us as a community to really demonstrate, like a public information office. I don't know if we have a PIO office that handles all that, but I mean, just spend all your time telling everybody how great we've been at accomplishing our goals, because we have been very successful. There's been a lot of really great things to rely on, but the messaging before the election needs to also include, hey guys, we've done a really great job. We made lots of progress, but it needs to be the public needs to have time to absorb, process, comprehend, and so that when we go to them and say, hey, we want to do these other 500 things, whatever many things, that it's not so much of a, well, what have you been doing for me the last time we voted on this? And the only reason I mention that is, I'm involved in my community, and my friends ask me, because they know I'm involved here, like, what's going on? And the general conversations are, I can't believe we have such high taxes in Pflugerville. Why does it cost so much to live here? And it's a really easy conversation to have for me, because I can say, well, these are all things that we could have done 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 20 years ago, et cetera. And now we're a phrase that came to me in a meeting a couple weeks ago was, it's really hard to get ahead when you're just trying to get even. And so we're still very much trying to get even so we can get ahead. And so I think that we could do a really, really great job in beginning to message that and begin to message the expectations that, yes, we recognize that there is a cost of living associated with being in Pflugerville, but here's what is great, and then here's where the future will look like. So that should be my recommendation.
And then commissioners, also remember that we do also have the CIP dashboard online, so it'll give you kind of the more day-to-day updates, obviously not day-to-day, but more rapid updates that'll be incorporated in with what they're doing.
Wonderful. Thank you.
So I might take it a little farther even than Andrew, and I'll be the pessimist of the group.
Mm-hmm.
I'd start looking at this list and deciding what can we put off.
Yeah, I'm in agreement.
Because
Yeah.
I love all this stuff. I wish we could do all this stuff. But we're looking at some pretty serious economic indicators across the country that things are not great right now. And hopefully it's all fine, and maybe by November, I'm bad at predicting. I'm not an economics person. I have no idea. Hopefully by November everything's looking great. But, there's a not zero chance that we're going to have invaded Greenland by then, right? So who knows what's going to happen. And so I think it could be a year. I don't know if you have to do a bond on 2026. I don't know how those works. I'm not an economics guy. But it is worth a conversation, and I'm sure you've already had, but if you haven't, of maybe this isn't the year to go out for a bond. Because I don't know that the voters are going to be particularly set up for y'all to succeed. And I've seen school board bonds fail, and it sucks. Because they put a lot of work into it. They need those schools, but the voters said no, we're strapped. So I would hate for us to do all this work and get set up and then the bond fail. I just wonder, just 1 year, just sort of like, hey, we get it, we've got it, here's everything we're already doing, and I'm not saying stop stuff we've already got in the works and spent money on, but just like, if it just anything we haven't started knocked over just 6 months or a year, like, would that help? I don't know, but that's just my feedback.
Yeah. And typically, especially, I'm just going to make a quick note.
Yeah.
We don't need to get into it. But if that's not a decision that the city makes, often what leads to it is a larger amount of voters. So it's a midterm election. So often midterms and presidential elections are the most beneficial for a city or a school or anyone to go for a bond because of the amount of voters that come out. So I feel like if they didn't go this year, it wouldn't be a question of next year, probably be a question of 2028 during the presidential election.
But if the midterms are full of angry voters,
Yeah.
are they the wrong voters?
Well,
So
I think
maybe not. Maybe it's still better.
Yeah, I mean, I do agree. I think we should obviously keep going with the bonds and put that on the agenda for November. But I also, is there a way to break down or break the subjects up? So, let's talk roads, transportation, let's talk transportation. Then next time we all meet, talk about parks. Next time we all meet, water and wastewater, because there's a lot to digest in this. So if we get today, then you guys get to revamp it. We see you guys, May 4th. Then we have to say yes or no, which I don't think gives me enough time. So is there any way to have yet another meeting before we say yes? I think that's just my opinion.
Or
There's a
optional work
lot
sessions.
to,
Yeah.
and then if we're supposed to go champion for the community, I don't know how I can say yes to everything or say yes to two things.
Well, so to clarify,
Yeah.
so the 5-year capital improvement plan, we're going to ultimately vote on whether this goes to city council, correct?
Yeah, just
The way the charter reads is you guys will make a recommendation to city council on what you think the CIP should look like.
Okay, and so does that, for clarity for everybody, does that give us the opportunity to line item things and say, if I'm looking at 50 park projects, actually I'm not going to pick on parks, let's pick on wastewater. So if we say, look, this one wastewater project of the 50 that are in here, we don't think this one makes the most sense because it's not developed or nothing. We don't have anything on the books yet. Nobody's interested in that. would we have the opportunity as the commission to strike individual items should we so choose?
So I'm gonna be careful how I say that because I don't want to frustrate anybody out there. But the way I've done this in prior cities is, as a city engineer, I bring forward my recommendation to the CIP, and then I talk to the Planning and Zoning Commission, and they make their suggestions, and then typically they would ask me, as an engineer, is there a problem with this suggestion? And so, like, with just using your example, with wastewater in particular, there's typically an order that you want to do a wastewater project. So if you say, hey, we're going to move this project, but then there's a project that you were getting ready to start that needed that one, then there needs to be some clarification because you guys may not see all the things that Jeff is seeing when he's looking at the wastewater system in its entirety. But yes, I would say that there's definitely a possibility to have those conversations to say, well, we think we should push this one back, and then have Jeff come up and say, well, if you push that one, then you've got all these dominoes that are stacked up that you have to move all those as well, so that you get the bigger picture kind of thing.
Which is why I kind of think it's good to have like 3 meetings before we bless or not bless something. Because if we're going to line item something, as an example, not doing that, but line item something, and then Jeff comes up and tells us the real reason, well, shouldn't we like have a moment, not just one moment, but like think about it and then come back to the next planning and zone, P&Z meeting?
So this was not my schedule. This is the budget.
No,
calendar
I
for
know
the
it's not your
city.
schedule. I'm not
And so
blaming you.
So I think the date we have to look at is that July 14th date of the final acceptance for city council. Ashley and I have worked together in other cities, and she and I actually have done exactly what you were suggesting, because we didn't like having meetings with P&Z until 2:00 so we could talk through every project.
Right.
And we've literally done that. And so we broke it up and we said, hey, we're gonna sit you guys down one evening and we're gonna talk through parks. We're gonna sit you down one evening and we're gonna talk through facilities.
Right.
The bright side is there's no 2 a.m. meetings. The downside is it's a lot more time on your guys' side. Typically those are special called P&Z meetings to get everybody together that many times. And so I guess to answer your question with a question is, it would be up to you guys if you want to have a bunch more of extra meetings in between now and the time we start.
It's a lot for. Oh, sorry. So it's a lot for us to ask me, the taxpayer, to like be cool with this huge number. I'm just gonna say it's a huge number. I need my glasses. But that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's just really a lot. And again, economics aren't really. It's not an exciting year for anybody. Anyhow.
Well, I also so for your consideration, I think before we decide on additional meetings, right?
I'm not saying let's go with 8 million meetings.
Because I think the last time we did this, we also had multiple meetings and talked about unique, like different projects. I think it might make sense for us to each individual review and at our next regularly scheduled meeting decide whether or not we really need to schedule something, because there's challenges that come with a small group of people deciding on what's going to happen with $1.581 billion, right? Like that's a big responsibility, and so our city staff and all of our stakeholders, like they do the hard work, right? It's up to us to review it.
I agree.
And so I think that when we start thinking bigger picture, right? It's really hard to go like, okay, well, we don't want to use the general obligation bonds from 2023. Which is $84 million to fund whatever the thing is. Like, I think our biggest challenge is identifying the projects that serve the city in the long term, right? And it'd be really hard to say that none of these meet that
They
goal.
all do, though.
They all do,
Right.
And so I think that comes down to messaging, because you need the voters' approval to do these things. The part that I can think about this constantly is, when somebody says, well, why are things so expensive? Well, I don't know. But we also have to assume that they'll be more expensive tomorrow and the day after and the month and the year and et cetera. And so where we're really trying to, we're trying to get back to my comment earlier, we're trying to get even. We're still behind. And so does getting even take longer? Yeah, it might, because if the voters choose to.
Right. They might say no. They might say no.
Right? And that's not necessarily our concern as a commission, and our concern is to put the issue to the voters.
Correct, yeah.
And let them make the decision.
So, and I've never gone through, because this is my second year on planning and zoning. I've never gone through a SIP on a year where there is a bond. So, a bond has to be called and formalized with details by June. Isn't that correct? So, if we're looking at this
I don't know if
schedule,
June is right, but yes, you're
around
in the
June
process,
usually. And so, like in future drafts of this, will there be, because I know y'all are kind of thinking through how you're going to package the bond, but you're a handful of months. I mean, you're probably getting to some final drafts, or I'm just curious, is there going to be like a little bit more clarity added into here of what is, or could we just all assume
This is pretty it, right?
that
Other than some numbers.
if it is noted as a funding source of I forget, sorry, what the
Page
category
22,
was
please.
called, future
Debt,
geo debt, right?
Yep.
right.
That category means that it's being planned on being in the 2026 bond program.
So I think we're actually trying to clean a lot of that up to
Yeah.
where you'll see. Cindy, correct me if I'm wrong. I think we're working with finance to clean a lot of this up so that you will see the projects that have funding for a GO 2026.
Okay.
So there will still be there will always be a future debt item and
Yeah.
always a future geo debt item
Yeah.
because
you might just be planning
We're
for
projecting-
design for something.
Right.
So in the future geo debt for a project, let's say it's a $50 million project, and you might in the 2026 bond program say, well, we want $3 million for design, and we're going to do that towards the tail end, and then we would go for another funding source for the construction,
Right.
for example.
Yeah.
But in a SIP, if the construction is anticipated to be in the next 5 years, it's shown, but it might not be funded by the bond
Right.
program in full.
Right. Right. And so that's why you'll always see those two, but we are trying to clean all this stuff up right now so that there is a GO 2026 line item so that
Okay.
you'll be able to see how much
Okay.
of that $960 million is in that 2026 GO election.
Okay. And I think that could be helpful for just discussions, just for us in general, for the future, like community members to kind of see a little bit more, because it is a little bit of a shock. whenever
Right.
You
Yeah.
see that.
And we don't need to have multiple meetings this time around, but there's no way this was done Tuesday last week. This is like a project, possibly. I mean, you guys are great. You guys are great, and I'm sure you probably did that. But maybe we could get it sooner so we could review it.
Well, and I think this is another consideration. This kind of goes back to just my rough memory, right? Is off the top of my head, I know we have about $2 billion worth of bonds from say 2018-ish to about present, and I know that about $1 billion is water and wastewater, about $500 million each, and then I know that about 120 is parks, because then that's what I recall. I don't remember what order they occurred in. I don't remember which bonds were voted on in which year and that kind of thing. But I think that probably builds into the messaging, right? Because as engaged members of our city, we want a functioning environment, right? And I want a functioning HVAC system at my house, right? And if it goes out and there's a cost, and you're like, well, what do I want more? Do I want HVAC in my house, or do I want to try and save it for next year and go through the winter, that kind of thing? And those are real considerations that individuals make. But when you scale them up to $1 billion, it's lost, right? Because we can't conceptualize the physical size of $1 billion. But then how do we take that imaginary number that I have in my head and then translate it into miles of roads and new parks and all that stuff? And so I think, if the ask of the Planning and Zoning Commission is to review and champion this and be supportive, which I believe we all are, right, just in our function, then I think the voters should be given the same level of consideration in helping a normal person that has no experience, like we benefit from, to like, oh, just a white paper, one page. This is what we did. This is what we're going for. This is why it's important. Please vote. Please vote. Please vote. This is important. Right? And I know everybody does a great job at that, but I think it's a big part of the messaging about success and future goals.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great.
And I would tell you, it's my first year on the P&Z committee, and it's a lot to digest the first time. It's like, wow. So clearly, the messaging is just critical, given where we are and the anxiety that our neighbors and so forth are hearing and so forth. It's just going to be huge to just get that out there, over-communicate like crazy. I'm assuming that there's priorities built into all of the various numbers that we talked about tonight. There are a lot of zeros, a lot of unfunded, not sure yet.
Yeah.
Which I'm assuming this priorities baked in. It wasn't obvious to me where the priorities are, how you communicate that to where it's actionable. But I think that is going to be so huge this time around. That's a big number.
Yeah.
It will shell shock a lot of people. It shocked me tonight. I'm looking like, wow, I can't digest this that quick. And so it's just something to just reiterate again. I think it's going to be huge to over-communicate that, have priorities in order, and help us to help you. Thank you.
Agreed. And then, and y'all, this is a draft, but one thing I enjoyed about the last year one was by project. It showed kind of like how the projects aligned with those overarching goals as a city. I forget what those were called. But it was like the little icons.
Yeah.
At the top of the page.
Yeah.
In the last sip that was really nice to know like how the project is aligning with I forget what it was called. My brain's starting to disintegrate. But I think that could be helpful in if we could refer back to the one from last year and how that was on the project specific pages. Oh yeah.
So last year we were working out of Excel spreadsheets, so we had a whole lot more flexibility in what we did. This year we have a program called ClearGov, which is a lot less flexible. It's a software program that pulls all this together, makes beautiful little donut charts and all, but it doesn't allow us to put like things on the pages. So
even the project specific pages.
We have no. Basically, what you see is what you have on that page. So there's the description, the justification.
Well, thank you. So just as a kind of a note, right? So if I'm looking at the future debt, the funding sources, right? So the total is 1.581, but then the future debt general obligation is 384, right? So my guess, correct me if I'm wrong, is that if it would go to a bond, the vote is going to be on the 384. It's the whole.
It's not the whole amount.
No, the current number that we're anticipating for the November election is $200 million.
Okay.
Okay.
So $200 million over a 5-year period, right?
Over a 1 year period, right?
It's $200 million for a 5-year bond. I'm sorry, 5-year project cycle.
It's $200 million for the projects that are in the bond package. Whether those projects are done over 5 years or 3 years or it's really going to vary.
The bond package.
Yeah.
So the reason I ask is I did 1.5 billion divided by 100,000 people over 5 years, and that works out to about $3,000 a year, just on average if we assume 100,000 people in Pflugerville. But if that number comes down to $200 million divided by 100,000 people over a 5-year period, then the rough math is about $400 per ratepayer per year over the cycle of that. That may not be useful messaging, but it also might be really useful messaging because if someone says, I got to vote for $1 billion worth of stuff, say, well, no, I'm so sorry, the ratepayer, you should anticipate about this. This is what it costs to live in Pflugerville. This is what you get for only $400 a year.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to package that. I'm not the guy for that. But but I think it's an important conceptualization, right? Because that number of like, oh, I pay 1.93% on my home taxes or 3.019 or whatever the number is also something that somebody has to literally sit down and manually calculate. So, anyway, just a consideration.
Well, I just want to mention, because y'all have mentioned, it's not I don't think, unless I'm reading it wrong, it's not 1.58. That's for the general funds. It's 2.4 billion total if you add the utility funds.
I'm looking at page 22, so I don't know what page you're looking at.
I think for future, they were saying they're looking for a bond of $200 million.
Right. So just
Yeah.
the bond is 200, but
Yeah,
in
yeah,
terms
yeah.
of the entire CIP
Oh, yeah.
total package,
Yeah.
if it were all spent, which it won't, I mean, that's, you have a 10-year plan and it lasts a few years.
Sure.
But it is, for that sticker price issue, the entire CIP put together is like 2.4 billion over 10 years. It's a big sticker, if I'm adding correctly.
So what you want us to do tonight is what?
Basically, I want you to get you comfortable with this packet so that you guys can go and start trying to digest it and jotting down your questions, concerns.
Okay.
Why are we doing this project now? And then we can answer that. Can we push it out 5 years?
Okay.
Then we can answer that. Those kind of things.
So like general comments to be considered in
Comments,
future
yeah.
drafts.
Yep.
Okay, so that could be knowing that we're not able to really like add items to pages. That could be a little bit more challenging. But within project specific pages, there isn't any anticipated cost related to maintenance, like future costs related to a project. Is that within a different area, or is that something that we could add or will expect to be added to the SIP? Is like, for example, if we use like downtown East, I mean, it could really be any, but like, those buildings, they have immediate capital cost, but then they'll also have costs related to maintenance of the systems, just general operational costs. And I guess some of that's probably slightly different budgets, but I mean, is it because it's completely separate budget maintenance of these, or is it that it's inside of a different
Well, it's really going to kind of depend. But generally, we do try to account for maintenance and operation after the project comes online.
Okay.
So if you're seeing projects that, the design, feasibility design, planning, all that stuff goes through the entire 5-year CIP, you're not going to see operation and maintenance until year 6 or beyond, whenever that construction is finished. That's typically the way we do this. And then the other thing is if we're financing everything through debt, we're not going to add the maintenance and operation to a debt item. It would be like through a future general fund type allocation. If you're in the general fund, if you're in the utility fund, then it's so we do try to account for it. I don't know how clear it is in those specific pages that you're looking at.
Okay.
I know in the last year we had it because we had a different format. We had a different software. We had Excel, and we could do whatever we wanted with it. And in like the year after, because we had 11 by 17 sheets, and so in the years after the CIP, you could see the O&M costs that were allocated to every year, and then that was a separate line item underneath that was accounted for.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean, if I was a citizen, I mean, I would be curious. Okay, well, you're especially for facilities. I mean, everything requires maintenance, but for facilities, you're quantifying, well, this investment to get a rec center and all of that is X amount of dollars, but technically, that project will cost more money over time than what is shown in the SIP.
Right.
And then making sure those funds are being considered when we're looking at available budget related general funds, I think is important. So I would still like to leave it as a comment and a consideration to somehow add or clarify where those costs are located to make sure they're being considered when we're talking about available budgets within general funds and, not within the bond conversation, but just in general.
Yeah.
And then a slightly more detailed question I'm just curious about. The Main Street extension is a pretty large transportation project going from Railroad to the downtown east. Is that cost in the transportation area, or is that within the downtown east?
That was a recent add Yeah. So
Oh, it is in the downtown
Yes.
project, okay.
Mobility.
Mobility. So it is a transportation project, but it's within that mobility. Okay, thank you. I appreciate that.
All right, thank you. Any other questions?
Just a thank you. Sorry, I asked a lot of
Please,
questions.
please,
I want to say
please.
thank you too. This is really, really awesome and
Yeah.
a huge amount of effort. And our city is growing and changing quite a bit in the past 5 years, and will continue 5-10 years, and will continue. And it's a lot of effort on y'all's side to think through all of this and everything. So really appreciate it. And we want to be champions, so that's why we're interested
here.
in
Yeah.
hearing more information and if there was a reality that we did want to have like a workshop, like if we get to the next meeting and we realize that it would be helpful to have a work session, is that something that we can make a decision on at the next P&Z meeting?
I believe so.
Okay, so we can ask for that. Okay, thank you.
All right, great. So this evening, you need a approval for the draft, is that correct?
I think it's just for you guys to receive
Just
the
to
draft.
receive it. We're just supposed to say thank you.
Thanks.
All right, wonderful.
Discussions are weird.
You did great.
Yeah,
You're
everybody,
relatively new
thank you.
to the
Yeah.
city.
Yes.
This is the first sip that you've sold to us. Good job.
Wonderful. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, city staff. Echo the thanks from other commissioners. It's quite an amount of work, and this is the second time I've seen it, and I'm in awe for a second time. So thank you. All right, our last item is item number 6A, item number 2026-0371, discussion regarding the Unified Development Code amendments with the Unified Development Code Advisory Council. And we had a work session earlier, and therefore we have no additional item on that. Okay, it is 8:28, and I adjourn the meeting. Oh, wait, hold on, I don't adjourn the meeting. Take that back.
So, just for clarification, I was just informed that the charter not only says that we have to present the recommendation to city council, but it has to be presented to city council by May 12th. So if we're going to do the special workshop, then it has to be sometime between now and May 12th.
We will need to send out a bulletin surfacing.
You could do like an email.
Yeah, we'll need to do that because we have to, I know we had looked at it originally to see if we could do another day on a Monday this month. It was gonna get a little bit tricky because of posting deadlines, the way state law changed, we have to have at least 5 business days to have the agenda posted. So being that we're already on the 6th, that would preclude us from next week. So it gets into, so if we can't do 13th, it would probably be that following, we gotta make sure we have the room space, but we'll,
But we also will like send you emails and kind of discussion points.
Yes.
Yes?
Not as a group, don't include it.
Just one, I can send it to you.
Yeah, if you want to, and then we can pass it along and have an answer. If you do that, or we can just. Sure.
So we could send additional questions on this draft. And to the point that was made, when we would anticipate an updated draft, would it be right before the next?
It'll be the same.
5 days before, 5 days before.
Okay.
Okay.
One question I had, that one usually, is there going to be a soft copy of this?
There's an electronic copy that was sent to you guys.
Yeah.
Oh, it's okay.
Yeah, it was a link, there were a few meetings that, things that came out because we had the CIP and then the BBC item for the work session and then this. But you'll get, it's pretty large, but you should have gotten that. Let us know if you did. We can
So
resend
would it be an attachment on the agenda itself?
Yes, that's where I found it, yeah.
So if you click on the agenda, it'll take you to the attachment.
That'll help me in my eyes, it's not what you
All right. Anything else? All right, the meeting is adjourned at 8:30 PM. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.